Hey, new patient group and Right Chat Nation. Welcome inside the broadcast booth. Brian Wright here, and welcome to Season 5, Episode number 2. Got a really cool one for you today. I am really excited to dive into this. As a matter of fact, this was not planned. You know, when you're up in an airplane, you're sitting by a pool, whatever you are, and you're mapping out ideas for the podcast, and you come out with as many as you possibly can that you think is going to help all of you change your lives, improve your businesses, employees, et cetera, et cetera. You never know exactly when you're actually going to take those ideas and execute on them, because you don't want to deliver a topic in the wrong month. What I mean by that is we try to stay with the hot topics. And right now, one of those hot topics is raising fees. You know, we all as business owners, we're dealing with an increased cost of living. We all do that in our personal lives. And as business owners, and sometimes you can get in your healthcare bubble out there and think that supplies and goods and things like that, profit margins are, supplies are on the rise, profit margins are on the decline. And while that is true in healthcare, that's also true whether you own a restaurant, whether you run new patient group, whatever it may be. So we all as business owners look at it, and we ask ourselves, can we raise fees? Should we raise fees? And we certainly believe that you should on a year-to-year basis out there. But you have to be smart about it. You have to realize that the higher you raise your fees, there's things that come with that. Well, today we're going to be talking about the five psychological pricing principles to grow your practice. Now, the beauty of this is if you're somebody out there and you want to raise your fees, we're going to be talking about something called prestige pricing today. The other things that we're going to be talking about, you may be somebody out there that doesn't want to raise their fees. Well, hopefully I'll inspire you today to raise your fees. But the cool part about all of these that I'm going to talk about, regardless where you are in your business journey, is it's going to go in to you properly showcasing your prices to people in a very strategic way that uses psychology. This is some really cool sales, verbiage, and presentation stuff that you're going to learn today. And that's what we do here with New Patient Group better than anybody on the planet, is sales, verbiage, and presentation as it applies to every single consumer touch point, from the time they're shopping for you with online marketing to the time they pick up the phone and call you. And along this journey, this is the thing that you have to get through your mind. The higher you want to raise your fees, the better you've got to be at every one of those consumer touch points. Today, we're going to talk about it's going to make you more money. It's going to grow your practice. Looking forward to a great one. Let's fire up the music.
A practice on almost every corner, and the modern-day consumer viewing you as a commodity. So why is it the best time in history to own a practice? The answers are all right here. Welcome to Season 5 of the New Patient Group audio experience, a business, marketing, and life coaching podcast dedicated to helping doctors dominate the new economy. And now your host, he's the founder and CEO of New Patient Group, managing partner of Right Chat, and a trusted motivational speaker for the finest companies in the world, Brian Wright.
Hey everybody, welcome in. Hope you're doing good out there. You know it's February. For those people out there that go to gyms, if you have a gym that you adamantly and routinely go to, February's here without even looking at the calendar, because you go to the gym and all of a sudden you went from all those people that were going to just be gung-ho with their New Year's resolution and get in shape for the first time, and then the gym is packed. When you go there, you can't use any of the equipment because there's always somebody on it that doesn't even know what they're doing. And then boom, you go into the gym one day and the masses are gone, and it's back to the same people you've seen last year and the year before and beyond that. And boom, February's hit. And it's such a image of how we all need somebody in our lives to just make sure we're held accountable and consistent, because it's the same thing. And I don't want you all to fall into that trap as the business owners now that you move into February, because we all have these goals, these aspirations that we want for our business, our practice. And then boom, February hits and we haven't done them yet, or we started off hot and it slowly but surely dwindles away. And I don't want that to be you. So make sure, if you haven't listened to the January podcast, The Year You Woke Up Scared, it dives into how you need to just push yourself every single day, because you never know when it may go away. You work all these years and the next thing you know, the competition tears you down, whatever it may be. You got to wake up and you've got to be motivated for change and to constantly be improving on a day-to-day basis and never rest on your laurels. So welcome in. Hope your year is going really, really well. Some cool things I want to update everybody on. So from last month to this month, Dental Monitoring and us. Dental Monitoring hired me as a speaker Very excited about it. I believe in dental monitoring and the virtual consultation very much. Matter of fact, we're going to have a cool virtual consultation theme on this podcast at some point. We're going to talk about debunking a lot of the myths that exist with a virtual consult out there. We're going to be talking about how you can be successful with a virtual consult. And then we're going to have Dr. Boyd Whitlock, longtime New Patient Group client, good friend. I'm actually going there. Dr. Boyd Whitlock, shout out to you and your team. I'll see you this month. I'll be traveling to Arkansas to see you. He's obviously a big dental monitoring successful practice. And we're going to be talking about how he had his best January ever last year when he wasn't even in the office. It's a really cool story wrapped around that. So long story short, big believer in the virtual consult, and Dental Monitoring's also hired me as a speaker coach. So I'm going to be coaching their other speakers who are mostly clinicians on making sure the message they're delivering inspires people, and just some other really cool things that help go into making you a good speaker. So really excited about that. This month we have a Dental Monitoring national online event we're going to be doing, also speaking for OrthoFi around the middle of the month. And then also another couple updates from a speaking standpoint. At the AAO this year, I'll see you all there. I'm going to be doing an all-day workshop for OrthoFi the day before the AAO officially begins. And then I believe it's on Saturday, I'm going to be speaking for dental monitoring there too. So I always like, obviously, speaking on stage, you get to help a lot of people. But also when you travel, you get to meet a lot of the podcast listeners out there. You know, the ghost listeners out there, I call them, where you see the stats and you see the listens, but you don't always get to see the faces. So make sure to come up and find me. We can chat together. Maybe we can go get a drink. Some really cool stuff there. Shout out to Dr. Donna Galante. Many of you out there probably know her name. She's a New Patient Group client. We went live with her website, and her website is lovemysmile.com. That's L-U-V, so make sure you're spelling that right. And I want to give a shout out to the online marketing team at New Patient Group. You know, online marketing is oftentimes an overlooked division of ours, because if you're a podcast listener, I focus mainly on, changing your life and your business and internal and looking to yourself and constantly improving. We are going to be having some cool online marketing podcasts this year, but it's not something I talk about as much, obviously, as the internal pieces, such as an example today with these 5 psychological pricing principles. So sometimes it gets overlooked, but I'm telling you right now, there is not an online marketing company in this space or anywhere that I've seen outside of healthcare as well that does more beautiful website designs with professional photography and customization and personal attention. The team is awesome here at New Patient Group. My heart, the new online marketing team, because I know you all listen to this podcast. I'm so proud of you. The website designs, really meet my vision of what is necessary for the clients in a competitive marketplace. And you're just doing such beautiful, beautiful work. Those of you who listen to the podcast out there, social media, video marketing, professional photography, custom web design, you're not going to find a better company on the planet that cares more. So really proud of you. Dr. Donna Galante, happy for you all. Your website looks fantastic. Hope you're happy with it. So shout out to you and the New Patient Group online team for making just a gorgeous website. Really proud of you all and happy for you. And today what we're going to be talking about is a module right from our Financial Presentation University course. And what I want you to do is go to newpatientgroup.com/free courses, enter in your info there, and get what I'm going to be talking about today on our on-demand course. For those of you watching on our YouTube station, right behind me is where we do our on-demand content. And what I'm going to talk about today, we're going to keep it at high level. Obviously, the podcast purposes is while you're working out, driving to work. We can't make a 3-hour podcast. So today's going to be more high level, just to get you thinking about these different ways you can price things, whether you're increasing your prices, whether you want to keep them the same, whatever it may be, how you showcase your prices in a way that's going to lead to more sales, all right? But this is going to be a better course if you can actually see visuals. If you can see me by the monitor over there teaching this course, you'll see why as I go through this today and we get into comparative pricing, visual pricing, things like that. You'll understand why seeing it is really important. So don't not go do this. I'm very adamant about the listeners out there. Go get your free course so you can sit and watch this with your team, get the visuals. Because the very first one, prestige pricing, let's go ahead and dive in. Prestige pricing, I'm probably going to spend the most time on this one today, And in the course that you'll get, the free course, I spend by far and away the most time on prestige pricing because this is where our mindset is for all of you out there. It is so easy, and you've heard me talk about this in other podcasts before. It's so easy to default to this, let's be the same as everyone else. It's competitive. I can't raise my prices. I've got 5 practices for people to choose Invisalign within 10 miles of me. There's no way I can go up. Let me lower my prices. Let me try to sell to the masses, be more appealing. And I could not disagree more with that philosophy. The reality is, let's take a restaurant as an example. It's funny when you start looking at the nuts and bolts of businesses that try to get a consumer to choose them over somebody else. There's so many similarities. And why we're constantly trying to motivate all of you to look outside of your healthcare bubble whenever you want to really grow, really be more efficient with the non-clinical world that you all survive in. You take a restaurant, let's say there's 5 restaurants within a 10-mile radius or 15-mile radius that offer cheeseburgers. Using that as a comparative analogy from a healthcare standpoint is that you've got 5 practices within a 10 or 15-mile radius that offer Invisalign, all right? So when you're in that type of situation, you got to ask yourself, the cheeseburger, and this is from a chef standpoint, the cheeseburger cannot be the same. It can't have cheese, bread, meat, etc. on it. It has to be unique. Now, it has to be unique in the way it tastes. It also has to be unique in the way it looks, so how it's plated. From a clinical standpoint, for clinicians out there, it's the same way. You can't do Invisalign the same way as everybody else. You have to showcase how you do it unique. Less appointments is an example. There's a lot of different reasons. I'm not going to sit here and deliver all the examples, but you have to be unique, just like that chef has to do when people have choices. But then there's the other piece to this. And the other piece to this is what about all your non-clinical, non-food experiences, right? When people shop online, like I was giving a shout out to our online marketing team. When people call, how your new patient phone call goes. When people show up to your door, how you greet them. Your digital workflow, your doctor exam, your TC exam, the financial presentation, all of these consumer touch points, that is what we're trying to paint an image in your mind of. That is how you become prestige pricing, meaning you are intentionally the most expensive in your community in the surrounding areas. Now, prestige pricing is also known as image pricing. Another word for it is premium pricing. And prestige pricing is all about the psyche. It's a psychological pricing strategy that appears to a buyer's psyche. And the strategy behind prestige pricing is exactly what I'm trying to motivate all of you to do today, is raise your fees. And I know it's scary. And I used to talk to my dad about this when my dad was alive. We'd go to a baseball game. And you hear, this is for any sporting event, football, basketball, whatever. You hear people constantly complaining about the prices of beer, right? That seems to be the most common consumer go to a sporting event complaint there is just the beer is so expensive. And I used to joke with my dad. He used to say, I wonder how high they would actually have to price the beer before people stop buying it, because every year it gets more and more expensive and then more and more expensive, and they raise their fees every single year, yet people complain about it, but they still buy it. So I was joking, I wonder if they made a beer $90, if people would still buy it. But the point there is that they just keep going up and up and up, and they don't stop, and people buy it. Now, obviously, I know you're not a baseball game. That was just more of a story time. But the point really, though, is raising your fees is okay. You can succeed raising your fees, and it's actually a strategy. And that's what prestige pricing is a strategy which you intentionally set your prices high for the reasoning that buyers will recognize the higher price to superior quality. And there are a lot of people out there where that's the case. They look for nice stuff. They want the high-end experience. They want and are willing to spend more money as long as you can showcase to them why you offer more value. What you can't do is say to yourself, I believe I'm the best clinician in my entire community. Therefore, I'm going to raise my fees, and that's enough. It's not enough anymore. I'm going to repeat that to you. It's not enough anymore. You have to showcase clinically and non-clinically why you're the most expensive in your area. So very, very important that all of you understand that. You have a brand. Here's a couple companies from a prestige pricing standpoint: Apple, Nike, Rolex, where they intentionally set their prices high. They want to be the most expensive. They do not want to sell to the masses in the scheme of, they do not want to lower their prices in order for more people to buy. It's probably a better way of saying it. But they also have a brand of superior quality, a superior experience. You take Apple for an example. I use Apple. I use Macs for everything. And I do it for a variety of reasons that we don't need to dive into. But I will tell you that their stuff is no different, or it's no better than PCs. Now, I think if you're in an industry like we are, we produce a lot of content. Macs are better for that, at least in my opinion. But it's the experiences along the way that inevitably allows Apple to increase their fees. There's actually a quote from Apple that I'm going to talk to you about here in just a little bit. But the reality here is that these companies, they just portray prestige, quality, superiority, and how good they are at what it is they do, both from a product standpoint and also an experience standpoint. Hence the cheeseburger and also the non-food experiences. Same thing. I don't even think I said it earlier. Is that not only does your food have to be exceptional and unique compared to the other 5 places you can get it, but all the non-food experiences have to be the same way. And the way you showcase prestige pricing is a big piece to this. And this is where the psychology really comes in, and why I want you to see me teaching this on the on-demand course, is that prestige pricing cannot happen if you have odd numbers. As an example, let's say your orthodontic treatment, we'll use an orthodontic treatment example. Let's say you're charging $5,999 for an Invisalign case, okay? Even if you believe that's the most expensive in your area, it is not considered prestige pricing. Prestige pricing intentionally makes all numerical values into round figures. So it would be $6,000, and that's how you would price your Invisalign case. It would not be $5,999, all right? It is intentionally going up. Now, prestige pricing operates under the belief that lower prices will actually inhibit sales rather than encourage them. Back to the reasons I told you, because buyers will associate a high price with superior quality. And there are studies that if you there's no doubt that $5,999 sounds cheaper than $6,000. There are studies all about the psychology of that. And I'm going to talk to you about it today. But prestige pricing, you don't want it to sound less. Your goal is to make it sound the most expensive out of all their other options. So by dropping it, a numerical value down to $5,999, it psychologically changes how people view that pricing. So you want to intentionally put it there. And there's all kinds of examples of companies that have tried to be cheaper, and they've ruined their brand because of it. Tiffany & Company, for those of you out there, they tried this. They tried to go from being prestigious to sell to the masses. It ruined their brand. They had to revisit their business model, and eventually they got it back. The whole prestige model, the whole prestige pricing, image pricing, premier pricing that we're talking about, is the belief that rounded numbers are more fluently processed. Okay? So if you go up to $6,000, it can be more fluently processed. There's actually a study, and this is on emotional purchase, and it's a study by Dr. Zhang and Monica Wachow. This is in 2015, all right? And they took this sales study around champagne, all right? And what happened was sales of champagne increased when the price went from $39.72 up to $40. And their conclusion was that people perceived the champagne to be of higher quality. Now, what you have to watch out for in your space is that if you do this with a television, you do this with Nike and a pair of shoes, you do this with champagne, see, people are more likely to be able to tell the differences in those things. You know, you have a higher priced cheeseburger, they bite into it, they can tell it's better than the other options that are less expensive. In your world, what you have to watch out for and why you have to be an expert at all those consumer touch points is because people don't know if you're a better clinician. They just don't know. Now, if you have a brand, you've been around the community a long time, people say constant good things, there's differences, but for the most part, consumers, they still understand and can relate. You guys hear me talk about this all the time. And if you want to be prestige pricing, you have to be an expert and you have to get it through your head that you have to be an exceptional leader that creates an exceptional culture in your organization. You have to commit to training your people on unique skill sets they do for you every day, but do not get training from experts in those areas on how to do them at high levels, and your online marketing when people are shopping. If you excel and are constantly seeking help on those three things, you can always be the most expensive in your community, always, and you will consistently grow. But at the same time, you have to be reasonable. I see this all the time. It's the same thing with practices. We're like, okay, what'd you produce last year? Well, we did 800,000. Okay, what is your goal this year? Well, I want to get to 1.5 million. And you sit there and you're like, come on. Like, you have to be realistic with it. And it's the same thing with prestige pricing, right? Your goal may be to become the most expensive in your community, but maybe you just opened 2 days ago or 2 years ago, and maybe right now your average case fee is $5,200. You can't go and say, all right, we're making it $6,500, right? That's just like, you can, but what you need to do is gradually increase them to the point where you are the most expensive. And as you're gradually increasing them, and that's the thing with prestige pricing, you cannot forget, for every dollar more you make your costs, what that means is you have to add $1 more of value. And I would argue you have to have $3 more of value for every dollar you add to your cost, meaning that, again, all those touch points, you have to be exceptional at them. I cannot, this is my rant and rave session for the day, but I cannot believe 10 years in as a company, we still have to talk to people about how important it is for you to become an expert in sales. It's a dirty word in healthcare, but the reality is if people are shopping between you and 5 other people, if you're not willing to commit to understanding how to sell them on you, who are they going to pick? And that's why you have to be reasonable. You cannot go from $5,999 and go, okay, I want prestige pricing, so I've got to round it out. You know, it's got to be into that even zero number. So we're going to go to $9,000. No. Okay, if you're at $5,999 today and you want to go up in your price, be reasonable about it. Be reasonable about it. And prestige pricing, that's the beauty of understanding the psychology behind this, is prestige pricing actually involves gradual increases in pricing. And then you have to remember it always involves even numbers. Prestige pricing cannot have odd numbers, or it does not count as prestige pricing. And as you increase the pricing, that is where you've got to keep going with the value. I could say this over and over and over again, but there are so many people that hear it, and it makes sense to everybody. You know, it's like the Ritz-Carlton. The Ritz-Carlton would not be able to be, Ritz-Carlton's prestige pricing. They're an example of a company that uses it. But they didn't just wake up and go, okay, we're the most expensive, right? They said, look, we're going to be the most expensive because of the aura that surrounds our organization. We're going to be the most expensive because every touch point people have with our organization, from when they look online to they call us to when they walk through the door, or before they walk through the door, when they get into the parking lot, for that matter, everything is going to be prestigious. And that is why they consistently go up and up and up and up. And if you want to talk about a competitive industry, it's the hotel industry. You think you're in a competitive industry, my gosh. Think about if you're running a hotel. You know, when Apple is an example of prestige pricing, Tim Cook is the CEO of Apple now. He had a really good quote. And this is when I started New Patient Group a decade ago. It was kind of the same thing. It's like I never wanted to be the cheap company that had 18,000 bajillion customers. Everybody was a number. No. I wanted a company that was extremely high quality, personal attention, personal touch, customization. You know our team, we know yours. We're part of your team, an extension of your team. And when you do that, it can't be cheap. It's not possible. So we as a company, I never said to myself, how many customers can we get? I always said to myself, how many can we retain because we're the highest quality of anything they've ever seen in the profession? And Tim Cook said, we never had an objective to sell a low-cost phone. Our primary objective is to sell a great phone and to provide an even greater experience. I mean, that's the CEO of Apple. And that's exactly what all of you should live on, is that right there. You want to grow your prices? You want to be more and more expensive? You want to raise your fees? You can do it. You can do it. But you have to understand that you should be great clinically, which I'm sure you are, but even better non-clinically. And that comes with training your people. If you train your people on all of these skill sets that we talk about and why we exist as a company, you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. Charm pricing is the second one. Charm pricing is also known for charm pricing, it's weird. These are all, they're so cool to me because there's so many, no matter how much you learn, there's always so much more to learn. And charm pricing is really, it's another psychological pricing strategy, and it's a strategy in which prices are set at odd numbers intentionally, oftentimes at 9, so that's where that $5,999 as an example comes in. And it's done so in order to perceive value to shoppers, or to demonstrate perceived value to shoppers, in order to convince them to buy. This has happened to all of us, whether we know it or not, whether we want to admit it or not. This happens to us when we're shopping. See, the beauty of what I'm talking about today is that these have all been done to us as consumers when we're buying cars, TVs, jewelry, furniture, clothes, shoes, food, on and on and on and on and on. And they absolutely work inside the healthcare environment too, but they only work if you're constantly striving to learn. Otherwise, you're just going to raise our fees $200, or I'll have some mathematical equation that I'll go up in, and you may get lucky, it may work, but it will always work better if you're able to understand these things. And charm pricing, that's why I'm doing it number 2. It's the complete opposite of prestige pricing because it involves reducing your prices, usually by a penny. Now, the reason you can still go up, all of these today, you can use if you raise your fees. Like I said at the top, I want you to raise your fees. But you take charm pricing, let's say you're $6,500 today, and you want to go up. Okay, well, you can always go to $6,999 as an example. That would be charm pricing, and it's an increase in your pricing. But you got to understand, it still does not qualify as prestige pricing. It still does not qualify as prestige pricing. Exactly, like I said, if your orthodontic treatment is priced now at $6,000 and you drop it by $1 down to $5,999, you just accomplished charm pricing. It happens with people all the time. And this is all goes into really how you want to be perceived in your community. Because the second you slap a 99 there, it psychologically triggers people into thinking you're less. And when we buy things, like I talked about, this is used on us frequently. And your brain notices it. Your brain processes $3 very differently than $2.99. It's just a fact. To your brain, $2.99 is significantly cheaper than $3. And I know it sounds so stupid, but it's true. It's the same price. And something with charm pricing, this is a study done in 2005 by Dr. Thomas. When you reduce the price by a penny, it must force the far left number to reduce as well in order for it to have the psychological impact to take place. This is why it's so critical to constantly be learning. So if you're at, as an example, $3, you subtract $1, you get $2.99. That accomplishes charm pricing. That's officially that has a different psychological trigger effect than if you're at $4.60 and you drop it to $4.59. So that far left number has to reduce. I'm going to say it again. The far left number has to reduce. Okay? You can't go from 6,200 to 6,199. That does not count as charm pricing. Or the other way, maybe say, I'm going to go up in my prices, so I'm going to do it 6,499. It doesn't work because the 6 is still there. All right, it has to reduce that far left number. This is where you have in the visuals in the free course that I was talking to you about, newpatientgroup.com/free courses. This is where the visuals will really help that I have on the screen. And the thing about charm pricing actually allows you to sell services for higher prices if you choose to do so. Just make sure you price them correctly. As an example, and the visual would be better. But in multiple cases performed, which of the following do you think actually people said look the cheapest? All right, you've got 1,050, 879, or 1,299. And people in the study would say 1,299. That's the one that was circled the most. All right, that's the most expensive. It's just crazy psychologically how we buy, and that's charm pricing. Just remember, the far left number has to drop in order for it to be considered charm pricing. If it doesn't drop, it doesn't mean it won't work, but you are missing out on an even bigger psychological effect as it relates to charm pricing. The third one, BOGF pricing. And take a guess here for a second on what you think that is. I'm going to tell you here in just a second. It's buy one, get one free. We've all heard that, right? And here's the thing. Just because you're buy one, get one free doesn't mean you're cheap. Okay? It doesn't mean that you're the cheapest in town or the quality isn't there. So you can go up in your prices and also integrate buy one, get one free, BOGF pricing. It's a strategy in which prices are increased to offset the cost of giving something away. This happens to us all the time. I tell my wife with her vehicle, we got all these free oil changes when we bought it. No, we didn't. They're putting that right into the price, jacking up the price of the vehicle. Like there is no such thing as free. Now, you do this in order to demonstrate perceived value to shoppers to convince them to buy. And all of you out there, especially ones that are our private clients, we're in your office and we have that such close relationship. We talk about this. I am as against discounting prices as it gets. And the more competitive it gets, the more I become against it. However, there are times where you can't be a dummy about it. Let's say the past 3 years, you consistently have had 3 months that were the same, that were just slow. Well, if you're an Invisalign practice as an example, why don't you plan out a couple Invisalign days for those months this year and do something innovative? Take some discount, move some, whatever. Do some of the stuff we're talking about today. What I'm talking about right now, I'm going to dive more into the buy one, get one free. Be innovative with it. It just can't be your main go-to, because if it's your main go-to, you become the cheap brand. And this is how consumers talk. Instead of going, hey, Joe, you need to go down the street because Dr. So-and-so is the best clinician on the planet, unbelievable team. They made me feel so special, right? That's what you want people to say. But if you become the cheapie, this is what they say. And then you wonder, and I see this, You wonder why you have this ebb and flow of the wrong patient coming through your door? Well, here's why. This is what they're saying in the community. Hey, go down to Dr. Joe there. They're cheap. They worked a deal with me. And they got me all these deals, and I got all these goodies. And then all of a sudden, you wonder why, the Southwest airline patient is coming through your door, right? If you ever want to know how that works, I fly all the time. And when I'm on Southwest, you know what you're getting. It's a whole nother consumer flying on that airline. Why? They do all kind of discount ads, freebies, cheapies, things like that. It brings in a whole nother consumer. And if that's what you want your business model to be, that's fine. Southwest is a successful airline. Buy one, get one free. Let's look at some example. Let's say you buy a pair of shoes that cost $50 and you want to give away another pair of shoes that cost $30. This is the whole philosophy, right? You're going to buy a pair of shoes today, you're going to get a pair of shoes free. And you've got a $50 pair and you've got a $30 pair. What you would first do is raise the second pair of shoes you would raise the $50 to $80, and then you would give the second pair away for free, right? You didn't lose out on any money. What I see a lot of people do when they give away free stuff is they're literally giving away free stuff. No, what you do with buy one, get one free pricing is you use it as that psychological trigger, okay? And that is a great way to get people to buy now. And see, you can still do this while being the most expensive in town. Now, if you choose not to be the most expensive in town, that's the beauty with almost all these outside of prestige pricing, is you can use all these other four regardless of the type business model you are. But they especially work if you want to be the most expensive in town. Mrs. Jones, you came to us at a great time. We're currently doing a special that allows you to receive your retainers free when you invest in your treatment with us today. Boom, buy one, get one free. Mrs. Jones, you came to us at a great time. When you purchase this amount of retainers with us today, we can offer you this amount of additional retainers for free. But really what you're doing when you're doing that is you're increasing the cost of what the first one that they're buying. There's nothing non-ethical about it. It's happened to all of us. We don't think twice about it, but buy one, get one free is a great way to get people to buy today, even if your prices are higher. You can use buy one, get one free as hey, look, we're only doing this for same-day starts. If you buy from us today, we're going to give you this, this, and this for free. It's a great value. Here's why. We're only doing it with those people that get started same day, their very first appointment. A lot of other ways to use it. But buy one, get one free is great because people like free stuff. They like free stuff. And that leads us into comparative pricing. Comparative pricing, another psychological strategy, but it's different. All right, let's look at it. It's a pricing strategy in which prices are compared with previous prices and or other prices you used to have. Here's the thing, doctors, treatment coordinators, all of these, you have to actively sell it. Whether you like the word or not, you have to actively showcase it. And comparative pricing is a big one because you are actually showing Mrs. Jones, this is what we used to charge for the same thing you can now get for X if you start today. All right? Without actively selling it, it doesn't work because it requires you to showcase that the value you offer today is even more than it was prior, even though you're charging less. Now, for those of you out there that are new patient group clients, those of you out there that are out of followers, comparative pricing is probably out of all of these today, the one that's going to work for you the least. Because if you're trying to go from $6,000 now to $6,500 as an example, you can't use comparative pricing because you don't want to show people, well, a year ago we were $6,000, now we're $6,500, we offer the same value, buy from us. It doesn't work. But what does work is if you want to take the strategy of we used to be $6,500 and now we're $6,300 and we offer more. Matter of fact, you could even get, if you start today, you could even Buy treatment, we'll give you a set of retainers for free. Like there's all kinds of different ways to play with this. The point is with comparative pricing is you have to showcase what you used to be next to what you are now, and then sell what you are now as better value than before, even though you're now cheaper. And like I said, that model works for more people that don't want to be the most expensive. And it goes like it. Mrs. Jones, you came to us at a great time. So excited you're here today. The treatment that Dr. Jones prescribed for you, it used to be $6,500, but now we changed it, and now it's $6,200. It's a great time to buy. Let's go ahead and get you started. And it's actually even better, Mrs. Jones, because the value that you're going to get, it's even better too. That's comparative pricing. But you've got to actively show people what you used to be if you're now cheaper. You know, all of this stuff is we're going to dive into visual pricing now. Visual pricing is pretty cool because it just goes into a lot of what we teach on visuals of domino effect and imaging and things like that. It's pretty high level stuff. Visual pricing is really cool. All of this stuff is cool. Because it goes into, I'm going to do a podcast this year, and it may actually be next month to continue the theme, is it's the 12 biggest mistakes you make when presenting money. And they're huge. And there's actually people that are actively teaching these mistakes to people presenting money inside practices. And it drives us, it goes back to taking the outside of the world, outside a healthcare bubble expertise and bringing it inside. Because like the things I'm talking about today, they all inevitably go into whether or not, if you do want to raise your prices, how you can do it properly, showcase them properly, and sell more. Or if you do want to be cheaper, how you can do that at an even higher level than you may be today. Visual pricing is a pricing strategy in which previous prices are shown side by side with the new pricing. This is one of the examples, if you get the on-demand course, it's really going to come in handy so you can see it. And visual pricing is similar to comparative pricing. The biggest difference is you are actively showing the prospective customer, patient, the pricing on paper. Okay? Before, with comparative pricing, it wasn't about showing them visually. It was about, remember I talked about it, was about actively selling it verbally. Visual pricing takes the verbal and the visual because you're actively on paper showing them the price difference. There's this really cool thing that we talk about in our Financial Presentation University course about anchoring bias, something that I'm going to have a podcast about someday, but it's a really cool thing. And I want you to learn about anchoring bias because of what it does when you're presenting money people. And there's so many times people say, let me think about it. And they're saying that because of how money was presented, not because they actually had to think about it. And here's something cool about visual pricing. See, these are the things that just absolutely make a significant difference. To make visual pricing work, remember, we talked about prestige pricing, where to really have the psychological effect, you've got to make it into a round number. It can't be $5,999. It needs to be $6,000. We talked about the charm pricing, where the left number has got to move in order for you to accomplish the psychological effect. If you don't know these things, you're operating on an island by yourself. In visual pricing, it's the same type of thing. Is that to make this strategy most effective, to really accomplish the psychological triggers that visual pricing is intended to have, you must change the font type and the color of the new price. And this is what I'm talking about, watching it on the TV monitor in the on-demand studio behind me to get the full effect. You can imagine, let's say orthodontic treatment, $6,450. Below it, it would say formally $6,500, now reduced to $5,999, right? That's the one that would be visual pricing, not the $6,450. And see, what you also accomplished there was charm pricing. You also accomplished comparative pricing. So you accomplished all four of the things we talked, well, three of the five things we talked about, and you could even throw a buy one, get one free in there. But without changing the font and the color, you will not accomplish the psychological effect of what visual pricing is supposed to do. All of these things, it's amazing. Formerly $399 a month, now reduced to $299 a month. And again, my goal for all of you is to raise your prices. New patient group clients, you're already there. You're going to do it more. You're going to keep kicking everyone's butt. If the industry grows 20% in a year, you're going to grow 30 to 40%. If the industry's flatline, you're going to grow 10 to 30%. You've been doing that for 10 years. You're going to keep doing it. The industry cannot keep up with you for things like today and all kinds of other reasons. But there's also a lot of people out there yet, or still out there, that if you don't have the skill sets we teach, can be very difficult for you to raise your prices. It's just the reality of the situation. If you don't have the verbiage, presentation, sales, marketing skill sets to dominate in a competitive environment, viewed as a commodity by the consumer, then your prices, I think that today what you're going to get most out of is the reality is the charm, the buy one, get one free, the comparative and the visual will make more sense to you and work better for you. Visual pricing is very powerful. Why? Our brains work in images, domino effect. Our brains do not work in words. They need to see photos. They need to see colors, etc. And the more it does see those colors in those photos, it's why the iTero machine is so powerful. Why? It's building images for people that their brain does not have to do itself. It takes the thinking out of it. And if you know how to present in addition to that, it's a game changer. And that's where these are as well. If you know how to present these properly, and that's where the Financial Presentation University course takes you A through Z. A through Z. And that landing page is not ready yet on our website. Will be. So if you're listening to this maybe a few weeks from now or a few months from now, newpatientgroup.com/FPU stands for Financial Presentation University. That's where that course, it'll see a whole overview of the course. You can buy it right there. For now, just call our 800 number, go to live chat, just say that that's what you want. We'll get you hooked up with it. But that's where you learning how to sell from A to Z is a game changer, because it takes what we're talking about today, teaches you how to present it properly, how to sell it properly, verbalize it properly, showcase it properly, and many more things as well. But if you want to be the most expensive in town, go with prestige pricing. There's still other things that we talked about today that you can still use to sell people, even if you want to be the highest price in town. Just whatever you do with your prices, be ethical, that's the thing. Everything we teach here, it's ethical, it's truthful, it's honest. Don't be sleazy about it. But the reality is, these are things that are critical for you to understand, because they're all used on us in our daily lives and they work. But you have to understand them, or it misses the psychological impact that these can have on your practice. And the higher you want to go with your prices, the more important this stuff becomes in your learning and you running the show as a leader. I hope you enjoyed today. Looking forward to a great season 5, many more great episodes to come. Enjoy the rest of your February, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for following us. See you soon, New Patient Group Nation. Bye-bye.